Hi guys, it's Jacob from StringBuzz here, stringbuzzworld.org being the music journalism site, links it in the description down below. And we have a brand new song review for you today, and it's the latest track by George Ezra, and that's Don't Matter Now. So I'm going to refer to the original article as I usually do for these videos, so I hope you enjoy. Now, I actually found George Ezra really refreshing when he originally hit into the sort of top 10 in the charts a couple of years back now. I can't believe it's been a couple of years since that album. His signature sort of baritone vocals are a unique selling point that we haven't really heard utilized to this success and to this rate in a long time now. You know, you think back to the Chris Reyes and all those sort of types with these really unique sort of baritone voices. It's been a long time since those figures have really hit the charts like George Ezra have. So now he's just dropped this new single, so shall we see whether he can keep up that good form? Well, I thought it was okay, and it definitely fits into his discography, so I don't think that is a problem, but I did think it sounded a touch generic, and there were a lot of cliche moments that just sort of had my eyes rolling, despite the song not being that flawed in general. I think it is an above average pop track, I just want to lay that out there, and I still think it does carry that Ezra sort of feel to the track and his style really well. I think his voice is still the main point of this track, but it doesn't really have that catchy hook or that vocal depth that we're used to hearing from this young artist. I did prefer the sections that didn't incorporate the horns in particular, since I find horns just so cliche when it comes to pop music nowadays. It seems outdated already, and yes, that trend still keeps continuing on, and I don't see it dying anytime soon either. I think there is more than enough here for fans to have a good time with this track. I can't say casual listeners, on the other hand, will enjoy this any more than his previous singles. I don't think it's up there with his previous singles, so it's more functional than exciting. When it comes to the production of this track, I think it is a fairly sort of standard production cycle, but in a good way. Whenever you don't notice there being flaws in a track's production, then it's usually a good sign. If you don't notice the production value, then that means you're just having fun with it anyway. The guitar had this sort of subtle, trebly tone, sort of a vintage type of tone as well, almost 60s type of tone, which added just a little bit into that high ground, which I actually enjoyed. Just a little bit of a tinny timbre in there, which I actually liked every now and then, during the dry spots especially. I thought George's voice sounded relatively untampered with, which is a nice change for me, and I thought he grabbed onto the foreground really well, which is a thing which I always value very highly when it comes to production cycles. The horns did sound a little bit more programmed though, more programmed than natural anyway, and when they were first introduced I did sort of kind of zone them out, since they just took away from the track's earthy texture that it was trying to create. And yes, it is surprisingly earthy, despite the verses and choruses using instrumentation that would say otherwise. Musicality wise, there is a lot we can appreciate here, but I do think George is the star of this track, and without his vocals it would definitely be much more forgettable, and I probably wouldn't give it such an easy ride. I didn't really enjoy the progressions. I thought the dynamics were really cheesy. I thought the hook was fine, but a touch gimmicky perhaps, with the sort of spoken word line being the main pull and driving force to it. And I thought there were lots of little sequences sprinkled throughout here that could have been just ripped directly out of many other sort of pop charty type tracks. I think the vocal melodies are functional at best, and there isn't much in terms of harmonic development or anything like that, but like I said, George is the star of the show here for me, and his tone is the star of the show. He puts in a fantastic vocal performance despite these dull melodies, as I mentioned, in which his dramatization takes center stage, and it makes it sort of the real focal point for the audience. You just believe anything he says. It sounds sincere, it sounds a lot more realistic than many other artists, and I thought this was a very clever and much needed touch to this track. I hate to use the same adjectives, but lyrically I found this track a little bit generic here as well. I have kind of found George's lyrical writing to be a bit basic in the past, and a lot of lines do sound a little rushed, and unfortunately I did feel that sort of reared its ugly head around here again. I do think that's the weakest part of his artistry, is his lyric writing. I mean, he means well. He writes about topics which are a bit atypical, but he writes about them in a very typical way. It's a bit of a strange one really. So all in all, I'd still have to say that this is worth a listen for fans, and it is better than what we are hearing on the radio right at this moment. It's been a bit of a dry month for me, so I'm inclined to go a little bit easier on it. So I give it a G rating of 5.5 out of 10 / a 6 out of 10. You know, it is above average. So if you like this video, then please leave a like, comment what you think in the comment section down below, subscribe to see more, and I'll see you around next time. Bye bye.